Om Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kansachanuvamardhanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Om. Adorations to Lord Krishna, the preceptor of the universe, destroyer of the forces of darkness, and bestower of immortality. Srimad Bhagavad Gita in chapter 2, verse number 31. Topic is Swadharma. Perform your Swadharma. Arjuna complained that his mind is overwhelmed with grief when he sees in the battlefield all have come together to be destroyed. And what is that all for? Why do you come into the world? For what reason? To do so many things for your benefit or somebody else's benefit. And your mind goes through enormous stress. So that type of question lingers on the mind of everyone in some degree or other. And that is the source of grief. Mind is constantly grieving. And Lord Krishna started giving a remedy for grief. The remedy is brief, but the brief remedy is in two terms, Sankhya and Yoga. Sankhya implying try to understand, who am I? The real you has no need for this entire world. Real you has nothing to gain through the mind, intellect, ego, senses, and through a world that is enormous. It seems difficult to understand. It's very easy. Think of you go to sleep, you are in a nice velvety bed, and suddenly you slip into a world. How big is the world? It's as big as this world. Vast with time, space. And you are aware of your responsibility, your role, what you have to do. And your mind is tormented by things that you are unable to do or things that are negative for you. As well as your mind is overjoyed when things are wonderful. But all that you don't understand, all this, what are you going to gain out of this? Wake up, you got a zero. And that applies to your waking state. You live through your body, brain and nervous system conjures up an experience of unimaginable past, an unending future. And as you go on advancing in your life, all this moves away from you. Physical body, your vital resources, your minds, all the experiences of feelings, frustrations and enjoyments, all the thrill of, as well as the negative experiences, all your good feelings, love, compassion, and dil ke tukde hajar hue, your heart breaks into 1,000 pieces. And all your intellectual grasp, how thrilled you were when you understood something. All moves away. Of course, you must realize that in divine plan, your soul goes on entering into embodiment until there is a complete revelation that all this world of time, space, causation, the world that is experienced through intellect, mind, senses, and sentiments, all that is a big zero. When you come to realize that, that's your goal. To dramatize that for easy understanding. Think of a spirit from the sun gets curious. What's going on in the world? Some journalist has gone there, spoken very highly of the world. And a ray of the sun, a spirit from the sun, says, is that so? Let me tour around the world. So the spirit of the sun comes, sees clouds dazzling with light, the rainbows, shining, shimmering sea, and lots of glitter and illumination created by the sun on the earth. And tremendous enjoyment experienced by countless souls. For a while, the spirit gets drunk with all seeing. Suddenly, something knocks at his head. Looks up to the sun. I am the sun. All this has been created by the sun. All this compared to the sun is a big zero. The sun alone is the reality. That's called Sankhya. But if that is understood by you, an illusion enters the mind. If that is all this is zero, then why should we have to go on giving so much attention to every little thing one has to do? If as thorn has entered into your hand or into your feet, what does it have? It doesn't matter. I'm giving this example only to show that it does matter. Even all this is illusion. Every little thing matters in this world. Therefore, you are facing a life of practicality on one side, and the other side, zero, void of the world process. How can we reconcile with these two? And the answer is, that's called yoga. You can bring in that experience. You bring in that experience in a progressive manner, degrees by degrees, gradual movement towards the realization that all this is Maya, illusion. The process is gradual. And what is that process? The mind has to be stripped of 3 defects: mala, gross impurities; vikshepa, subtle desires that keep the mind always agitated; avarana, ignorance, a causal veil. How to live your life to remove these 3? Removal of these 3 is progressive. You can't remove all of it. So when you start removing malos, removing your distractions, you begin to bring out an aroma of spiritual progress. So in practical world, even though the whole world is big zero, speaking in a relative point of view, to the extent you practice integral yoga, to that extent you find yourself a source of inspiration for lots and lots of people. And you find a mutual interaction that makes your life glorious. You find the movement enjoyable, with increasing revelation of inner silence, inner sweetness, and so forth. That process called yoga. Yoga and Sankhya. Knowing inwardly, who am I? Act of intellect. And bringing it out in practice, so that what you have known theoretically has become your reality. Swadharmapi chavekshya na vikampitum dharmyadi yuddhachreyo nyat kshatriyasya na vidyate. Having understood this to be your swadharma, swadharma means your own duty, you should not waver. There is nothing more blessed for a kshatriya. Kshatriya literally means a warrior class, but I will explain to you the mystical meaning. Nothing more blessed for a kshatriya than a righteous war. All that gives you a language of a military language. The join military, fight the battle. But it has nothing to do with it. Your swadharma is to fight. That's one point. Life is a battle. That's what the Spanish saying, estoy luchando. What type of battle? Battling against malas, anger, greed, hate, perverted desires. All these are malas, jealousy, conceit. All these are gross impurities. Gross impurities do not allow you to do your duty in a healthy manner. You are born with a healthy instinct. Your life flows under divine plan. But you have always now facing choice. Should I be healthy or should I be unhealthy? And that applies to physical plane as well. Okay, physical plane is the easy reality. Now, the subtle point is, if you can't combat against anger, hate, greed, conceit, if you can't combat against these, you will not be able to follow swadharma. You will be led to perform paradharma, duties of others, not your own. And when you lean towards paradharma, paradharmo bhayavaha, the source of all fear, Gita will tell you later. So the first great project in life, the first stage of spiritual awareness, is to have an insight into swadharma, paradharma, implying what is my duty and how can I follow my duty, how can I separate myself, draw myself away from the activities, works that have been created by disbalanced mind, by imbalance. Mala-gripped mind, impure mind. As you begin to dissolve the impurity, so if you allow yourself to have more satsanga, more certain disciplines that help you to reduce mental impurity, little japa, meditation, if you practice integral yoga, even in a small measure, as mind becomes free of the impurities. Automatically you begin to enjoy activities or works that arise in your nature in a very natural way. You find every day can be enjoyable. Every day can be productive, creative for you. And you find that automatically God has planned for you. There is a spontaneity of activity that has come down through your parents, etc. Called pravaha patita karma. Action that you need to perform flows like a river. You don't have to ask for where it is, how will it come, when will it come. Now, another aspect. Having been drawn to Swadharma, now you find that things that you expect will come to you easily, and you develop an awareness, I am the master of my destiny. I can accomplish many things. Self-confidence rises within you. But you are not able to disperse your ego. It's ego-based. The ego is speaking loudly in you. Now I am so wonderful. But then, if you are insisting with Swadharma, continue in a sustained manner, a little window begins to open in your heart. And then you have no choice but to sometimes look through the window. You begin to discover there is attainment where ego is transcended, where ego's expectations are far transcended. That attainment is more profound, and that makes everything that ego attains little as well as glorious. In other words, from paradharma you move away to swadharma. Swadharma gives you choice, sakamya or niskamya. Sakamya means, are you going to stay with your ego, constantly petting your ego? An ego is only a monkey on your neck. Or are you going to transcend that ego? Use the ego as your pet for yourself, for discovering who am I, instead of losing that great opportunity of life, losing the goal of self-realization for the sake of satisfying the monkey. Two choices are there. The higher choice, called Nishkamya Karma Yoga, automatically opens. So Swadharma done well moves you into Nishkamya, gradually but in degrees. As Niskamya develops, you are now in a movement that enriches you in a profound way. You begin to discover you are the master. You are the master of the senses, the master of your sentiments, the master of your lower self. This movement, therefore, is described as Dharma Yuddha, war for establishing Dharma, for establishing spiritual value of life. And aspirant is called a Kshatriya, a fighter, a warrior class. You belong to the warrior class. All souls are Kshatriyas. Kshatra Short term is to protect, create an umbrella for three ingredients of the relative consciousness: seer, seen, and sight. Seer, subject. If you are a Kshatriya, your attention should be towards who am I? How can I shine? Next attention, what is this world? And to this and a discovery that the same self, the same sunlight, pure consciousness, is the reality of me. I am in you is Brahman. Brahman is the reality behind all the world. The world is superimposed upon Brahman. The world is Maya. The world is the snake. Brahman is the rope. But this again is not just one-step movement. Recognizing the world to be essentially God indwelling everything, God being the reality behind things. But why doesn't God just directly express himself? Because your looking glasses are defective. You are using mind with different vasanas. And therefore, to some people, the world is giving them an opportunity for immense greed. To some people, it is giving an opportunity for intense ego, flattened, ballooned. To some, it is giving an opportunity for intense hatred. Same word. But led by vasanas, souls are experiencing countless types of world. If you are a Kshatriya, experience that world in a higher way as a God's expression. But while you are doing it, help people also to experience the world in a different way. Look at the world as God's world, not your ego's world. Everything has a purpose. So don't look at the world just like a created by some gambler. Shakti is the Mahabharata gambler. But not so. There is purpose. There is grace. There is divine miracles. There is divine love. Satyam, Shivam, Sundaram. There is the majesty of truth. There is the beauty of blossoming of good qualities. And there is amazing glory in the world at every moment. So, Kshatriya means protect this I concept in you, elevate it. I am Brahman. Protect this world view, the way world is experienced. The world is not rotten onions. And therefore, your experience of the world, the subject experiencing the object. Experiences are not just little itches or scratchings on the skin. They tickle your heart. Experiences touch the core of your heart. It's thrilling, no matter how things are. So 3 ways you have started changing the world. The concept of I am, the concept of the world, the concept of everyone experiencing the world through the mind and senses. When the threefold positive direction has been created, you can well understand what will be the nature of humanity, what type of wondrous culture can arise. That's the potentiality of the world. that can be done by an aspirant moving towards enlightenment. Because not only you advance for your own personal and subjective liberation, you automatically create a source of inspiration for others. A wave cannot rise unless it allows many waves to rise. So that is what one who plays this role is a Kshatriya. He is Arjuna in the battlefield. Na vikampitum arhasi. You should not tremble, waver in your battle. If you are wavering, you are not a Kshatriya or a Vaishya or Shudra. That I will tell you more as we move forward. Now, Swadharma, duties that come to you, they are also known by different names. It's called Sahaja Karma, spontaneous activity. It is called Pravaha Patita Karma, like a river flowing on. And you face the river every day, never the same, but doesn't matter. Whatever it may be, whichever way the flow has come, it's flowing. Karma flows. Do not keep your mind under stress. What type of duties will I have to do? How many types of things will I do tomorrow? Will I be able to handle them all? Etc. You don't have to do that. Have a general plan. Things, the world and its needs, that's not in your hands. That will come to you automatically. Also known as Ishwara Predita Karma. You do not view that activities and projects, etc., that are coming to you, they are all, the credit goes to the ego. Ego is a rat. Credit goes to the camel. You know the story of camel and the rat. Never to turn away from Swadharma. That quality has to develop. Turn away from Swadharma. I will explain that later. Avatyavadanshcha bahun vadishyanti tavahita nindantastava samarthyam tato dukkha taram nukim yadrichaya chopapannam swargadvaram apavritam sukina kshatriya partha labhante yuddhamidrisham. Fortunate are the Kshatriyas, those warriors that I described, the spiritual seekers who are fighting the battle for discovering the self, fighting the battle of life for threefold upliftment. Upliftment of three-aspected consciousness: consciousness of yourself, consciousness of the world, consciousness of the way the interaction takes place. Fortunate are the Kshatriyas, O Partha. This Arjuna's name is Partha. His mother comes from a royal race called of Prithu. The mother is called Pritha. And Arjuna is the son, so therefore he is known as Partha. These are little details. Fortunate are the Kshatriyas who encounter such an opportunity as this great battle, which presents itself before you as an open gate to heaven. It's kind of a martial presentation. Heroes going into the battle, they are given the encouragement. Never run away. Better to die in the battle. Running away is hell. To die in the battle is just lifted up by God. But that is not real. That has nothing to do with mystical implication. You need to be aware of your enemies. If you are lazy, laziness is your enemy. If your mind turns to negative thoughts constantly, that's your enemy. If you can't avoid anger, greed, etc., these are your enemy. Some enemies are foot soldiers, small. Some enemies are their horses. That means they have also the backing of some inner vasana. And some enemies are chariot drivers. Not chariot drivers, they are owners. Chariot warriors. That means a bigger chunk of your vasana is involved in that. And in this battle, you cannot have success every day. Every now and then you feel as if the enemy has won. But if you are a Kshatriya, you are not going to run away. You are going to stay on in the battle. Without any fear. The worst of all enemies is the fear. But without fear, because you have nothing to lose. This battle is the battle that you have to win. You have no other choice. And you are bound to win, there is a promise. So therefore, having the opportunity of human existence, human embodiment, is a marvelous opportunity. Because Purushartha, self-effort, is not possible if you are born a monkey or a donkey or a lion or a lamb. But in human embodiment, you have the reason, the Purushartha, the will that you can exercise. If you say, why did God become unfair? The animals can't. But that's another story. Souls, according to their karmas, are in different embodiments. If your karmas are terribly negative, you are hospitalized. Being in animal embodiment doesn't mean that the soul is very limited. Some souls are very advanced, even though they are in animal embodiment. But they are hospitalized. Once that embodiment moves away, the soul will spring back into human embodiment. But that's a different story. But here the focus is to understand the importance of human embodiment. Manushyatvam, mumukshutvam, mahapurush samshraya. Three things are the greatest blessings. Blessing of having human embodiment. Blessing to have aspiration to allow your spiritual potentiality to develop. Aspiration for self-realization. And the blessing for having guidance. To be able to be guided by enlightened sages. All the three are possible. With all this, the message is, be a fighter. Be a warrior. Never to turn back. And your involvement in battle is not based upon your expectation. The expectation that, am I going to win? Battle is so furious. So why to fight at all? No matter what answer, whatever answer, whether you win, you don't win, Yours is to fight to finish. Never turn back. Pursuit of Swadharma, that opens the door to your turning your karma action into karma yoga. अथ चत्वमिमं धर्म्यं संग्रामं न करिष्यसि ततः स्वधर्मं कीर्तिं च हित्वा पापमवाप्स्यसि. On the other hand, if you do not fight this righteous battle, you will be deprived of both your swadharma and your fame, and thus you will incur sin. Any instruction is given with two aspects. Say, for example, we say, practice ahimsa, non-violence. It's a great dharma. It will uplift you. If you don't, hatred will dominate your mind, and you will find horns emerging out of your head. So if you don't fight this righteous battle, but think of it, you will be deprived of both your swadharma. You will be then gripped by paradharma. Paradharma means you are gripped by activities, actions, facing circumstances and challenges that have very little to do with your own enrichment. In other words, being involved in lots of chores and activities that have very little meaning in your heart, just feeling as if you are just driven, tossed around. But due to ignorance, people adopt paradharma without recognizing what they have chosen. For example, if your goal is to become fabulously rich, then all that you are looking for, how to multiply your money. Days pass by and you are not enjoying the days. But the days that bring you the news that your money is multiplying, they give a sad thrill in your body. With that type of mind, now you want to get rich by hook or by crook. And the more you get rich, this has very little to do in your heart. Suddenly you may have heart failure. Very little you can gain out of that. When you find yourself stripped of pleasures of the senses, your eyes have gone away and your ears are getting, you have hardly can you enjoy all the money you have gained. On the other hand, if you are doing swadharma, you may not have much to show off. At the same time, you can have much more to show off. Never think swadharma is making you materially poor. You become mystically poor. I own nothing. Blessed are the poor. Materially, that's a different matter. You become an instrument in the hand of God. And if you are doing something great, God gives you lots and lots of resources. You can be fabulously rich. But that fabulous richness is not we are not attached to it. That's not your goal. Therefore, you will stay poor internally. That's a different matter. So if you do not fight the righteous battle, if you do not perform your swadharma, If you do not do your sadhana, you are deprived both of swadharma, which I have explained. You will not have that relaxed internal view of yourself. You are busy with paradharma, how to do things that can give you quick money, quick fame, etc. Next point, you will be deprived of fame. Fame term here refers to like fragrance. If you are doing swadharma, your own duty, a window opens for nishkamya karma. Your heart becomes generous. Generosity allows your soul to waft its fragrance. And when it wafts its fragrance, even the bees and bumblebees from long distance, they know where it is coming from. All types of journalists will go after you. So there are two stages: turning to swadharma, moving away from paradharma. That's one great healthy movement. Now swadharma, allowing your fame to flourish. That means paving the way to nishkamya, paving the way to allowing the ego to dissolve. So you end up with, I am all that is. I am one with God. On one side, I am a ray of God. I am one with God. And on the other side, God's glory or God's fragrance is emanating from me. I am his instrument. I am a flute in his hand. Once you have enjoyed that type of fame, recognition of God emanating from you, God's presence, and if you miss that or fall back from it, there is nothing can be more degrading than that. That's what Krishna is telling to us. And with this, conclude. Krishna did all that within a war situation. That we have to do it little by little.